Good morning. Welcome to what I'm calling Sabbath Sunday. Sabbath rest in Old Testament times was about shutting everything down, preparing to empty one's life and one's day. All the food was prepared the day before. Any work that was needed was done the day before. It was a time of enforced rest, enforced by commandment, enforced by the Lord. Commanded because God knew and knows what's best for us. That every week, the entire nation, no matter who you were, no matter what your place in life, young or old, whether you were part of the nation or a foreigner, everyone should rest, and everyone should rest together. But of course they knew it was coming. They knew what to do, they knew the preparations to make, and they knew that the day after they'd be back to activity. And whatever needed doing or whatever plans were made, they could get on with. This time of Sabbath for us is quite different. It's come out of the blue. It's put life on pause. It's meant that many of us are stuck at home, not knowing when it might end, not knowing when we can plan again or even start thinking about booking things in. We can't see each other except on WhatsApp or FaceTime. We can't talk to each other except through technology. We don't know quite what's going to happen. And we weren't really prepared for it. We weren't really ready for it. But why weren't we ready for it? And that's something that I want us to reflect on today, and the days to come, and the weeks to come, and possibly the months to come. We're meant to be a people that know how to rest, that know how to lay everything down, that know how to put everything aside and be able to be still. And yet we're not. And that's the church at large. The church at large is as driven by success, as driven by activity, as the rest of the world is. We have all given in to one of the most subtle drugs of all. I need to do more. I need to achieve more in order to be more. And it is a drug. And it has captivated all of us. There are a few good things that can come out of this terrible, challenging crisis of COVID-19. The way in which the country comes together and looks after its neighbours, the way in which we are rallying round our frontline support workers, our NHS, our police, our paramedics, those caring for the elderly and the vulnerable, those who are distributing, manufacturing the food, those who are putting themselves right at the front line of risk. Most importantly, the NHS. But something else really good could come out of this time. Something that we could learn for ourselves in order to help others who aren't part of the church learn for themselves as well. To be a people who know what restfulness looks like and feels like. To be a people who are willing to just lay stuff down and not be driven by activity, whatever the motivation. I hope you've read that bit from Exodus 20 now. The Sabbath commandment, the fourth commandment, the one that holds it all together. Honour God and his name and worship no one else other than him. and then a whole load of don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other. And in the middle, the Sabbath. The Sabbath that holds it all together. That if we know that we are God's children, and we know that we are already special, and if we know that we're already enough, then we are willing to stop and we are willing to rest. Because actually we are a people and we are a nation that is restless. And restlessness is a disease. Restlessness leads to anxiety. Anxiety puts us on the treadmill and keeps us there. I must do more. I must work harder. I must be more because I am never going to be enough. It will never be enough. I will never be enough. Restlessness to anxiety to treadmill. You see, the Sabbath is a resistance movement. It is a rebellion against anxiety, against restlessness. Restlessness enslaves us. Restfulness releases us from the need to achieve more, the need to work harder, the need to be more, because we know God and we know that we're already enough. We know that it's His work, and when He invites us to join in with it, we're ready because we're rested and full of restfulness. I've been lucky enough to go on some canal boat holidays, and this bizarre tension between the speed that you drive towards the marina along the motorway at 70 miles an hour with all that traffic, and then the 2 mile an hour on this tiny narrowboat where you have to be very careful what you pack and very careful what you take because there's not a lot of space. Space for a few books, a few jigsaws, pack of cards, not much else for a long journey. And on a clear stretch, you might get up to 4 miles an hour, but most of the time, probably 2. And sometimes feels like you're not moving at all, like everything has stopped. And to begin with, some people find it really difficult. The silence is almost deafening. The stillness almost drives them mad. But it doesn't need to. Because when you stop for long enough, you start to notice extraordinary things in your garden about nature. The wind, the grass, the leaves, the birds. Your mind stops racing if you stop for long enough. The lists just start to fade away. The desire to do more starts to fade away. Calmness starts to enter. Anxiety starts to leave. You start to enjoy the peace and the restfulness. And there comes a point, and it can take a long, long time, when actually you're ready to hear God. Hearing God today is like trying to hear one radio station above 62 others that are all playing at the same time. And we pretend, including myself, that we can hear God above all the other stuff in our heads and around us. Can we really? Without learning to be a Sabbath people who are willing to rest. Now, I know for some of you, you're going to find that really hard. It's going to feel itchy. You're going to feel like you're going to want to scratch, scream, run out of the house. My advice is just sit with it. Just sit with the constant restlessness, with the sense of anxiety that life has stopped, and sit with it. It will go away. It will dissipate. It will fade. You don't need to try to be restful, because the Lord will bring that restfulness into your heart. He will bring Sabbath rest into your soul. He will lead you beside his quiet waters. He will still you. He will refresh you. But first of all, we're going to have to do the really hard work of moving beyond our restlessness and beyond our anxiety. Because for us as a church family and as people who follow Jesus Christ, it could be for us the most important thing we take out of this time. To lay aside the drug that says we need to work harder and work more and be more, but to actually use this time to learn to be a people who are already enough and who just need to be restful in the Lord. My prayers and love to you all. I look forward to talking to you again on Palm Sunday. God bless.